Hello and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to do a CD haul. Do people do CD hauls? I don't know, but they do book hauls, so I figure I can do a CD haul. I have 9 CDs to talk about which I've bought in the last month or so. And 4 came from HMV, 4 from the pound shop, and 1 came from eBay, which is a really exciting one. I'll get to that one last. But first, I'll talk about the ones I got from HMV. I went to HMV a few weekends ago to get my favourite albums from the summer because I knew I wanted to start doing videos and talk about them. I also really like when I really enjoy an album, I've been listening to it on Spotify, I do like to get the physical copy because it's just nice to give a little bit more than the 0.2 of a penny that they get from Spotify back to the artist. And also it's just really nice to have a physical copy of the music you love because, you know, you own it, it's a part of your life, it's yours, and you can always listen to it even if the internet explodes. So I won't talk too much about the albums because I've done my favourite albums of the summer video, which I'll link down below. I'm now a person who says I'll link down below. So it's I'm All Ears by Let's Eat Grammar, amazing. The Now Now by Gorillaz, fabulous. And Upside Down. Testament by All Saints, bloody brilliant. But also, while I was at HMV, I just went to get these 3 CDs, but I discovered that the Now Now was in a 2 for 15 quid. So I had a look around to see what else I could get in HMV, and I was really thrilled because one of my other favourite albums of the year that I hadn't picked up yet was in the 2 for 15, and that is Le Cove by Gwenno. This is an album that's all in Cornish. It's a really beautiful, mystical, magical album. I'm going to do a video of my favourite albums of the year so far, so I'll talk a little bit more about it there. But what I would like to mention, if you've seen my favourite albums of summer video, I had a little bit of a rant about these 3 albums, crash, not having the lyrics in the booklet. This one, it's all in Cornish, and it has all the lyrics. Not even a booklet, but it still has all the lyrics in English and in Cornish. So take note, other bands, this is how to do it. But I really love that album, another one of my favourite albums of the year. So I then went for a little spree at the pound shop. Because I've been writing about my Robbie Williams gigs of 1997 on the blog, it put me in the mood to listen to Life Through a Lens, Robbie's debut album, and I realised I didn't have a CD copy of it. Obviously I did back in 1997 because that's the only way you could listen to music then, but during my 30s, my foolish 30s, when I thought I didn't care about music anymore, I sold almost my entire CD collection. So I'm slowly kind of buying back all the CDs from, you know, back catalogues of my favourite artists. Robbie is one of them, but I hadn't got Life Through a Lens yet, so I went to the pound shop and I picked up Life Through a Lens, which is I really love this album. It's just such a strong and beautiful and moving debut album from Robbie, and I mean, it's flipping got angels on it, so you know, you can't miss that one. I then got Sing While You're Winning, which is an album I didn't actually buy. I sort of fell away from Robbie fandom after his 2nd album because I didn't enjoy it so much, and this is his 3rd. But actually I do really enjoy this album, and I should really have picked back up with being a Robbie fan. I did back in the day, like around the time it was released, I borrowed it from the library and copied it onto a cassette, so I did have a copy of it, but I just never bought the physical copy. And the 3rd one, which I did buy back in the day, was Escapology. Is that the right way around? This is possibly my absolute favourite Robbie album. It's just full of amazing songs. I'm getting confused because the songs are in this way on the back, but this is just remarkable. So many brilliant songs. Not just like, obviously Feel is a massive classic, Monsoon, but there's album tracks like Love Somebody, which is just huge, Revolution, Me and My Monkey. It's amazing album, and my memories of this album from about 2002, 2003, that was the first time I got a computer of my own. It was the first time I was able to access the internet in London. I had the internet when I'd lived in Australia with my parents. They had a computer, we got online in 1995, but then I moved to London in 96, so I lost internet access up until 2002. So I just remember spending my evenings like glued to my computer, surfing the internet. It was the era of forums and LiveJournal and like really proper interesting conversations, which you don't really get on the internet anymore. And I was really into the Lord of the Rings fandom and Harry Potter too, and I just spent my evenings chatting about Lord of the Rings and listening to this album. That's my memories of this album from when it came out. So those were all the Robbie albums that I found at the pound shop, but there were also a couple of Take That albums, and I picked up this one, The Circus, which is kind of where I departed from being a Take That fan back when it came out in, I think, 2008. I'd been really excited when they reformed in 2006. I went to see them on their reunion tour, and then they put out Beautiful World, their first reunion album, and I'd really loved the singles. Patience was brilliant, Shine was brilliant, I was really excited, and then I listened to the album and it was middle of the road blandness, and I kind of gave up a little bit, and so I never bothered listening to this album or buying it at the time, and I do regret, because I kind of didn't get back into Take That fandom until last year with Wonderland and the Wonderland tour, and I missed out on so many amazing tours. I've seen the DVD of this tour. That's typical of Take That. I've seen their DVDs before I've actually listened to the albums. Let's face it, the live shows are the important thing more so than the albums. But I really regret missing out on the Circus tour, the Progress tour. There's so many fantastic live shows I missed. So I'm going to catch up on this one. There are some songs on it that I love already. Said It All is wonderful. Hold Up a Light is quite nice. So yeah, I'll give that a spin at some point. But the final CD I'm going to talk about is one that I got from eBay. I had to get it sent from Australian eBay. And it's an album, it's this one. Labour of Liberty by Robbie Dunn, which I imagine most people, if you're watching this, probably won't have heard of her unless you're in Australia. And even in Australia, I think she's pretty obscure. This album came out in 1989. We just moved back from Singapore to Perth, so I was living in Australia, and I heard the single History, the first single from this album, and I just thought it was the most magical, beautiful, amazing song I'd ever heard. And so I bought this album on cassette, and I still have the cassette. In fact, I meant to bring the cassette to show you. Hold on. So here's my cassette copy of the same album. That's the cassette I had, you know, ever since I was 14 in 1989. And I've always wanted a CD copy, and I did order it from eBay, God, probably about 10 years ago, and the CD never arrived. I'm annoyed now because that door is open, hang on. I did order this CD about 10 years ago on eBay, but the CD never arrived. I got my money back, so it was fine, but I was a little bit wary about trying to order it again from Australian eBay, but I finally had a bit of money in my PayPal, so I thought I'll give it a go and order it from Australian eBay, and I'm so happy I did, because it's an amazing, amazing album. I truly feel that Robbie Dunn is a lost great songwriter of the late 20th century, early 21st century. The thing about this album, I'll talk a little bit about the songs. She's got an amazing voice. I think the strongest comparison I can come up with as to what her music kind of sounds like would be Kate Bush, even though I have a huge gap in my musical knowledge because I've never listened to a Kate Bush album, but I know, you know, her singles and songs I've heard on the radio. And I would say there's similarities in Robbie Dunn's songwriting style and in her voice. She has a very high, very big range and a very high soprano voice like Kate Bush. But the songs on this album, they're all written and sung by, you know, written music, lyrics, everything written and performed by Robbie, which is amazing, you know, because female artists don't really get to do that very often. And it's not even that common for anyone these days. It's all about co-songwriters, you know, you see the songwriting credits on albums and they go on for miles. And I really love the concept of like an album being one person's vision, you know, all the lyrics, all the music written and sung by one person. History is just a song, the melody is just unbelievable. It is so gorgeous, it's so melancholy, but it's so strong, it's amazing. I'm just gonna keep saying amazing. There's a song called Beating, which is, the verses kind of sound like it could be some indie tune by maybe Susie and the Banshees, and then the chorus sounds like ABBA. There's kind of jazzier songs, like a song called Fishing, which is more jazzy. There's Hello, which is kind of country sounding. There's a pure kind of pop song called My Spark and Me. There's a song that's just this really achingly gorgeous song called Mind of My Own, which is about, it's just Robyne and a piano, and it's about the kind of ways that as a woman, I didn't really appreciate when I first heard this as a teenager, but it's like about growing from that teenage girl into an adult woman and having to squash down all the things that you are because it's just not acceptable. You have to be a certain way as an adult woman, and like as an adult woman now, and I listen to that song, I'm like, bloody hell, I can so relate to that. So it's just a wonderful album full of wonderful songs, and she is truly a great lost songwriter of, you know, the recent era. This album, I really wish I could say go out and listen to it, but it's not on any streaming, it's not on Amazon, it's not on iTunes. The only way you can really listen to it is to buy a copy like I did from Australian eBay. You can listen to her other albums. There are 4 more albums, and they are on iTunes. I actually haven't listened to them yet. I've been so kind of excited to listen to this album. I've just been listening to over and over. And back in the day, I feel like her record company really failed her because there was a bit of promotion around this album, but after, I guess, it didn't do as successfully as they wanted. I never really knew that she had more music out, and you know, my music taste, I think it wasn't until 1994 that she released her second album, and by that time it was all, you know, Mannix and Suede and Britpop and all the things, so I guess I wasn't really paying attention, which is, you know, to my own shame. But I'm definitely going to, at some point, just have a day and download, you know, buy all her other albums from iTunes and just have a binge, because she's a really, really fantastic songwriter and singer. And if you can, whatever you can find of hers, I would say there's a few videos on YouTube, and there is a live album you can listen to on Spotify. That's more of a jazzy acoustic kind of thing. You don't get the full force of her, just her grasp of pop and just brilliant songwriting. I'm not so much a fan of jazz, so it's hard for me to appreciate the more jazzy setting of her songs. But yeah, listen to what you can. I would recommend. And Mushroom is her label. Mushroom, if you're listening, please reissue this. Put it on streaming, because it's just an album the world should hear. It's an amazing album. So that's my little rant about Robyne Dunn, and that is my CD haul. So tell me, what have you been buying? What CDs? Have you been buying vinyl? Have you been buying cassettes? I love cassettes. I'm much more a fan of cassettes and CDs than vinyl. Vinyl was never my format growing up. I started with cassettes and then I moved on to CDs. Vinyl was just annoying because I had to go into the living room to listen to records. So, you know, I wanted to listen to music in my bedroom, hidden away. Anyway, what have you been buying? What music on physical formats have you been buying? I'd want to know. Let's chat about stuff. And like, subscribe, comment, go look at the blog, scruffystorms.com, and I will talk to you in my next video.